Welcome to Crafty Little Beach. This is Julie. Today I have a Dollar Tree DIY for you.
I want to try to DIY with one of these Market Fresh flower signs that I got at the Dollar Tree. It's a wooden hanging sign, but I thought I could do something even better with it. I was thinking I could make it into an actual flower market since it says Market Fresh Flowers, right? So the first thing I did was just remove the hanger on the sign and fill the holes in with a little bit of spackle. And I'm going to do a whitewash on this. I did mine with some white acrylic paint, and then I'm going to kind of wash off the excess paint with baby wipes. You could also mix your white paint in with water, whichever you want to do. Basically, I want to whitewash the entire sign because I want to be able to see that wood burning through it so I can reattach all of that. And I don't want to cover it. So you can see this is what it looks like. You can still see the etching enough to draw it on. I'm going to do that with a Sharpie. So for the Market Fresh, I just go over and start just basically tracing what I see on there. And I'm just doing that with a black, like regular Sharpie. I want the colors on this to be kind of neutral. I do add a little bit of color at the end. And then I'm going to build a great flower market to go underneath of it. Here at the bottom, it says seeds, stems, and blooms. So I add that as well. There's a little flower on here, so I thought I would switch up colors. And I'm using a green Sharpie. I love Sharpies for fine details like this over paint pens because they don't tend to blend and they're a little bit more of a finer tip. Now, at first I was trying to stay more neutral with this, so I went in and did the word flowers, which is the biggest part here, with a like bronze colored Sharpie. It almost gives you more of a brown feel, which I like, but then I go back and make the flower market underneath of it, and I used all kinds of bright colors, and I decided that, you know what, I'm going to need to make this more colorful. So I end up changing this to pink, so you'll see that as well. But easy enough to draw that out. I thought it needed a little bit more detail, so I decided to outline mine as well with a black Sharpie. And I'm going to go ahead and whitewash over that again too to make that wood really turn more of a whitewash look. And it's going to weather and distress all of this and make it look a little bit better because my Sharpie skills are not going to be perfect here. But that's okay. I kind of like the handwritten nature of some of the sign. Now to whitewash it, I'm taking a makeup sponge with some more of that white paint. I probably should have thinned it out first, but I thought I could make this work, and I did. And I'm just gently going over. The Sharpie dries pretty quickly, so you're not going to have to worry about a lot of bleeding with that as well. When I go back and make the flowers pink, I did get a little bit more bleeding, but you can see that the Sharpie really kind of holds its color. And I'm just dragging that all over. I want all of this to be white with a little bit of wood showing through and just highly distressed, right? So I just go all over and then I follow that up with a baby wipe to thin it out a little bit. That gives it that whitewashed look. And that's what it looks like so far. Now you can kind of see the edges looked a little sloppy. So I just take that same sponge and take the white paint all the way around to make that look a little bit better. Now we can start building the little flower market. I picked up 3 of the wood trays from Dollar Tree. Just make sure that all 3 of yours are the same size. I noticed going through my stash that I have like 3 different sizes of these. I don't know why they like to change the sizes up a tiny bit. But I need 3 the same size so I can have them all side by side like this, and we can make these into a little flower market. I want them to look like white crates. And so I'm whitewashing them as well. I just go on the inside, all 4 sides with white paint, and then kind of spread it out with a baby wipe, letting some of that wood grain come through. Doesn't have to be perfect. You're really not going to be able to see a lot of that, but I wanted to go ahead and add that detail just in case you could see it anywhere to do the inside of these. And then I'm going to be doing the outside, all the areas that you will be able to see. I'm going to attach these 3 together. Try to make it look like 6 crates though, since these are kind of tall. And I think that will be easy enough to do with some more Dollar Tree wood products. So I do the same thing on all 3, just going on the inside walls, inside little handles, and then going over the whole thing with a baby wipe to thin it out. Definitely getting lots of white paint all over myself. And that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the outer sides that you're going to be able to see. So you're going to be able to see that side. You're going to be able to see the top. So I paint those and use the baby wipe on this one. This one, you're only going to be able to see the top, and this one, the top and the side. That way I can glue those together without any paint on there. It's going to make it a little bit stronger, I think. So I just put hot glue here on the side, and we're going to glue these side to side. These are going to be standing up kind of like they are right now. And then I want to make them into like 6 sections instead of 3. I just used some of those little crafting clips from the Dollar Tree and attach those together just to help my hot glue dry stronger. And I do the same thing for that one. The glue does dry pretty fast anyway. And then to add the sections. Now you could use Paint Star 6 for this. It might be a little cheaper, but I like to use items from the Dollar Tree. I think it makes it easier for you guys to find stuff. And so I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree wood rulers. As you can see, they're not long enough to go all the way across, but I think we can make it work by cutting some of them down. So I can do 3 rows like that, like a top, a bottom, and a middle to make like little crate sections. So I'm going to cut it about halfway in between those two. And I did 3 that length of the ruler just by cutting them down on my saw. Then I'm going to need just a piece that's long enough for one of the crates. And I'm going to kind of make this random, just using some leftover rulers I have here. I use these for crafting all the time. I love them. Just remove the stickers and you have some great crafting wood. And I'm going to glue the first one here, connecting the first 2 crates like this. I'm just leaving that piece long. I don't mind that it is longer than the other side's going to be. And I do the top and the bottom on the same side, going all the way to the edges. And then for the middle one, I'm actually going to have it line up on the right, so it'll look a little bit more random, like crates would. And I attach it with hot glue there on all 3 of the bins. Or I guess 2 of the bins. And doing the same thing over here with the smaller pieces. I'm just gluing it to the edges. And I can always go back and paint these as well to make it match with our little flower market that we're making. But I wanted to go ahead and get everything glued on first. And that worked out pretty well. So I'm just going to do that same whitewash that I did on everything else. So a layer of white acrylic and a baby wipe following that up. At first I thought about putting shelves in there, but I'm going to be filling this up with Dollar Tree florals, little tiny flowers. Don't really think I'm going to need the shelves. So I think it will work just by having like this palette board design. And just like that. Now I did think about covering the holes on the sides of the trays. That's going to be in there on the top. But what I ended up doing was just filling that with flowers too, making it look like it's overflowing. I'm using 2 more of the Dollar Tree wood rulers to attach the sign. The sign is pretty large and heavy, so I want to make sure that it is secure. And I thought these would definitely be heavy duty, a lot more heavy duty than like a popsicle stick. I just line it up there by making sure I have something for it to sit on so it's kind of level there with the back of the crates. And I cut it down a little bit just to get the circle off of it, the little cutout, but totally optional. And I'm just using the flat side and attaching that to the back, and it provided a really nice strong base for that big sign. I'm going to reinforce it with a couple of staples from my staple gun as well. And this little flower market is actually pretty sturdy. This is what it looks like so far. It really looks like it needs a lot of flowers. I decided to go in with a little bit of moss first. So this is that brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree. You could use whatever moss they have. It's going to be a great filler in there to add the flowers. So, the back of it, you really can't really end up seeing it too much anyway. So that looks pretty good. No shelves necessary. I can just put the flowers down into the moss like this. So these are some little tiny flowers that I found at Dollar Tree. I tried to stick with some of the smaller ones. I always purposely buy small flowers for spring crafting because you need them in so many different things. Dollar Tree spring flowers and flowers in general are usually a lot bigger. But if you look this time of year, you should be able to find some smaller ones like these. So I'm going to do this like bright pink color, which ends up being my inspiration for the flowers word. I'm going to make that pink to match those flowers. I have some of the same flowers in this great like purple and white and yellow. And you can have them kind of go underneath that ruler, kind of popping out. That way you get a flower on the bottom and on the top like that and make your flowers go a little bit farther. And I'm just going to keep alternating colors. I want this to be bright and colorful for spring. I had some little tiny purple flowers. And I use these every year for spring crafting. So I had a lot of like partial flowers that I've saved the rest. And then I'm going to add a little bit of greenery that was on the flower as well. Might as well, since it's there, just by cutting it into little individual pieces. And then I decided to add a little blue, which I don't normally do for spring crafting, but I thought this was really pretty. These are called wildflowers, and they're little tiny blue flowers. They're shaped a little bit different, but I like the variety. And we start piling them in there. I want this to look like it's overflowing with flowers, like a flower market. And this is going to be like a freestanding flower market that it's going to be an actually pretty big DIY that will decorate a lot of space for spring. It's looking pretty good. That's when I decided, you know what, that sign is not colorful enough. So I'm going to fix it with a pink Sharpie, I thought. But as you can see, the pink over that brownish color, still kind of muted. So I went in with a pink paint pen and we're just going to make this work. Now, one thing about distressing the pink paint pen though is you definitely need to let it dry. It will bleed if you try to distress over it. But I'm just trying to go in and fill in the areas that I had previously made that bronze color. It almost looks like a gray color with the white distressing on top. But I really think this packed a punch with a little bit of color there. And of course, the big flowers word would be the best one if you wanted to add some color to it. I dried it and then I went over and outlined it again just because some of the areas I had accidentally kind of went over the outline that was already on there and I thought it was going to be a little bit hidden now. So I just went ahead and outlined all of them with a black Sharpie again. And I'm going to go over and distress that with the white again to make it look whitewashed and distressed, of course, but you definitely want it to kind of pop before you do that so it'll kind of shine through like everything else. Just a few more details to make it look good. And then I used my white little sponge again to whitewash this. And just be really careful because you don't want that pink bleeding into it when you use your baby wipe like this. So I had to try to be really careful to make that not happen. You might want to use a brush. It might work better actually than a sponge for that because you can kind of drag it over the letters. But I love the way this is looking. I did not like those openings there in the top though. I thought I could either do another ruler there to cover those or I could just use them as little vases for more flowers. So I had a few of those flowers left. I'm just going to go ahead, cut those into individual pieces. So we can fill those up with flowers as well. I want to use some of the same flowers here that I already used. So it kind of makes sense. And just given in these little flowers, you don't have to iron too much, but that one was kind of fighting me. And I didn't have any more of the pink, so I decided to borrow some of the pinks, move them up, and just kind of use whatever I had. Even if it's like a little bit of greenery. On the two sides, I can have it kind of go up a little bit. In the middle, I don't want to go super tall because I don't want to cover up the seed stems and blooms words, but just a little bit more arranging. And I'm glad I did that because it's a flower market. So the more flowers, the better, right? A little few more touches of greenery, and this DIY is almost complete. Isn't this so bright and colorful? A really fun idea to use one of those flower signs. Now, if you don't have the flower sign, I think you could totally get away with it. You can make your own flower sign pretty easily. It doesn't have to be that shape, of course. And we made all of these great crates here, just using 3 of those trays from the Dollar Tree. Isn't it really colorful and fun? I would definitely recommend the smaller flowers like this because you can get a lot more in there, but that's it, our little market fresh flower.